Well, we're up here at the TT Grandstand. It's the final day of the race meeting, so we normally on a Friday talk to a minister, so what better to do an outside broadcast location this year. You've got a smile on your face, happy how it's gone, but it's always that thing that you never know until it's all over how this will pan out, won't it?
Yes, you're right. Happy. I think a successful TT for everyone is actually a safe TT, and of course, that's what we always strive for. We try and do everything we can. We've had a very difficult start, of course, to the TT, with regards to incidents and also the weather. However, what a fantastic note to end on. Here we are on the final race day, senior race day. Bank holiday. It's a good day, I think, here for the Isle of Man and for the TT.
At the minute, you're still responsible for this, i.e. the government, but there's this talk we've had now that at some point in the future, near future, if it comes off, you could have a private company running that. Where are you up to with that? Well,
we've actually got the shortlisters here in terms of promoters, potential promoters here, observing what's happening during the festival and the TT this week. So we're at the sort of final stages of looking at the detail of that, and we hope to come forward with a recommendation to Tynwald before the end of the year. So, but it's really interesting because when you look through different eyes, we live this, and it's part of our DNA, it's part of everything we do, and it's great to see the winners walking in here, about to be interviewed here in the hospitality. It's something we live with as part of our heritage. But when you look through different eyes, they're looking at what the opportunity might be to promote the Isle of Man. And actually, we're in the hospitality right here. There's a lot of actually the Athol Street crowd, as we might know them, here promoting their businesses, the Isle of Man. There's board members here, there's all sorts of people here looking at the Isle of Man from a different perspective than just straightforward TT racing.
The World Series is the other thing I want to talk about, because that's still... Mr Fogarty was sort of not sure. Martin Blundell liked the idea. This is probably just exactly where it's going everywhere. There's a mixed views still on this.
There is. Overall, I would say there's always scepticism, and the scepticism is about potential change. And the reality is, what we don't want to do is change what we've got here. This must remain, as it has always been, the Mecca, the road racing capital of the world. And whilst we're talking about going around the world, these would be potentially much different races, and I say potentially because there would be 5, 6, 7 mile courses, not 37 miles, likely to be urbanscapes, not round the mountain or through the countryside as it is here, and it would be very much more corporate focused because you're likely to have a lot more stands in terms of your ability, therefore the commercial aspect. Here we must retain this. It is started as being a blue collar event, and we want to retain that. Whilst corporate hospitality is growing, we must still retain that essence of a TT where you can sit on a hedge, sit on a wall, sit in a garden and enjoy what is a free spectacle for the Isle of Man.
Very interesting your reply there, because it has become commercial. This very unit here must be a generator of quite a lot of money, because obviously people pay to come in here, they meet the finalists, that sort of thing. And like obviously the TV rights has been going to ITV4. I mean, like the local people like us, we can't even film anything because the rights are so locked down. Do you think it's the right mix, or do you think it has become too commercial?
It's a good question, and it's a challenge that will continue to be there. What we need to do is continue to find a balance. Yes, is there growth in this? And I suggest yes, there is opportunity, but the revenues generated here helps actually support the TT in its own right. From a pure balance sheet perspective, it washes its face. What's the real benefit is the 30-odd million that's been spent around the local economy these last 2 weeks, and that's the wider economic benefit that is a real benefit for the Isle of Man and the economy of the Isle of Man.
Yeah. While the Isle of Man government actually puts this event on, you are responsible for when people die in that sense. It is that sort of thing still, isn't it? It's risk-reward here. There's no question about it. The dangers exist, and the government is sponsoring this whole thing.
Indeed, yes, and something again, because it's part of our history, part of our heritage. We accept that. In the Isle of Man, we are innovative. And another word for innovation is risk, and the TT is that element. And you've got to ask yourself, if you were to start afresh, you probably wouldn't be able to stage this particular event at all from a health and safety perspective, from a planning perspective, from a logistic perspective. Absolutely not. But what we have is an expertise in that, in terms of operating this event. The massive logistics that go on here, the huge amount of volunteers that give their time up for this event, and it just wouldn't happen without that what I always regard as the Team Isle of Man effort.
And when I've had interviews with first-time journalists, particularly coming here, they cannot believe the way we deal with it, because we're all so used to having that risk element to it. That in other sporting events, the whole thing would be cancelled at the end of the thing.
Yeah.
Here, it's an hour maybe while things are sorted out, and then life goes on. It is different mindset, this whole thing, isn't it?
It is, and it's actually it brings me back to an interview I did a couple of years ago with Japanese TV when Yoshi just passed away. They came here to actually record the technology that's behind TT0. Really fascinating, growth in that area. And they asked, about how do we as a government, support and promote this. And the reality is, we've always done it. We have accepted it, and we are very sensitive to it. And we have to, do everything we can with regards to health and safety. But we cannot possibly mitigate everything. But when the Japanese asked me, how do you liken it to? And the likeness there for Japanese is like a samurai. It's a warrior in many ways. And this is, man and machine against the most difficult terrain around the world. And, it's a phenomenal, it's an experience. And quite frankly, I don't think you can understand it until you actually come here and actually see it, in the flesh.
And going back to the privatisation, this would be better for the Isle of Man government? Do you see that you are one step separated from this as the organiser?
Well, we will, and we will have a level of governance there that is, that will remain. First and foremost, the event here has to stay in its own right, in its format that it is. Can it grow? Yes, it possibly can, but the growth is probably more on the global destinations rather than just right here on the Isle of Man, because we must retain that essence, because that's the reason why people come back, and we've got to keep it unique, because we want to also promote the people to come here to the Mecca at the end of the day, and that is really very important.